And hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar on empowering business growth for disabled entrepreneurs. And in this webinar, I want to help you to build a sustainable business that works with you and not against you. So I'm Sarah, and I'm a business mentor and trainer for disabled business owners and employees. And I also advise organisations who want to better support their employees with chronic illnesses. I live myself with multiple chronic illnesses, including POTS syndrome, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, migraine, and chronic fatigue syndrome. And I started my business, Excel Against the Odds, about 6.5 years ago now, where I realised I had a different business previously, and I realised that I was struggling to run it in alignment with my health conditions and often found myself making it worse. So I wanted to create a space where I could help other people to run their business in a way that works with their health. I created the Entrepreneurs Against the Odds Facebook group back in 2019, and it continues to run and is a lovely, supportive group where everybody seems to look out for one another. And I've seen some lovely connections being made in that group. I'm also the host of the Excel Against the Odds podcast, which I have been running for quite a few years now. And I invite guests onto the podcast to talk about their businesses and to discuss the successes and challenges of running a business with a chronic illness. I was a Small Biz 100 in 2021 and have been working with Small Business Britain since then as well. And I'm a very proud member of the steering board of the LILAC review, which was a government-backed independent review led by Small Business Britain to look at tackling the inequalities faced by disabled entrepreneurs. So, the reality of being a disabled entrepreneur is that we have to face unique challenges. And those challenges can be to do with our health, but also to do with the way that we're running our business. The opportunity, though, is that we have unique skills and qualities. Many people that I work with have developed some amazing skills and qualities, such as things like resilience and adaptability and an ability to face adverse conditions, which have all come as a result of having to deal with the challenges of living with their disabilities. So we're going to look at how we can use that to create a business structure that works for us. So today we're going to cover practical strategies on how you can manage your energy and set boundaries to protect that energy. We're going to look at technology tools that you can use to create space and freedom within your business. I'm also going to look at building networks and connections that really do support you as well. So my story and the challenges that I faced. So I set up my first business quite a few years ago. Well, actually before that, I used to work as a management consultant. I got to travel extensively and work with some really big organisations. And I did love my job and I loved the travel and I loved the people I worked with. But unfortunately, I lost that career as a result of the health challenges that I was facing. The company I was working for couldn't make the changes that I needed in order to remain in employment for them. And eventually, I set up my first business, which was creating skincare products. I formulated them myself and I made them using natural ingredients. And I loved it. I made kits for children so they could make their own skincare, and I also ran workshops and parties. But I found that I was making my health worse. I kept finding myself in a cycle where I would push myself really hard. I would crash out and my symptoms would get really bad because I wasn't really listening to what my symptoms were telling me. I would then have to take time out, feel really bad because I wasn't able to spend time in my business. And then I would start working again, but be behind in the business. So I found myself in this constant cycle. And I think that probably a lot of you have found yourselves in a similar cycle. So we have issues such as burnout, where you find yourself pushing yourself so hard and not able to maintain it at that level. A lot of people who are business owners have so much ambition and they're passionate about their businesses. So it's absolutely normal to find yourself just pushing yourself harder than you're able to cope with, and that can lead to burnout. There's also that feeling of guilt when you do have to take time out of your business. A lot of people in the Facebook group that I run talk about the fact that they feel really guilty when they have to take time out to look after their health. They feel that their business isn't running effectively and feel very guilty about that. There's also the problem of health flares. So often people are living with conditions, whether that's chronic illness or disability, that causes health flare-ups. So there are always going to be times when you aren't able to work because of that. And it's learning to set up your business so it can still run during those flares. And then there's also that sense of isolation that a lot of us feel. I think if you have a disability or a chronic illness, there is that sense of isolation. But I think for business owners as well, there is that sense of isolation, particularly if your family members or your friends don't run their own business. They often don't understand what it's like. And so I think if you're also working from home, and you don't know anybody who's experiencing what you're experiencing, it can feel very isolating. So does that sound familiar to you? So what changed for me? Well, when I was running that first business, I got to a point where one Christmas, I was found myself unable to use either of my shoulders. I had already had a frozen shoulder in one arm, and then I woke up with chronic bursitis in the other arm, unable to do anything. And I was still trying to run my business. I was making up kits, making up products, trying to do things without actually having any arms that worked. So I was in incredible pain, having to take really strong painkillers. Went to my Christmas fair as planned and got through it. But at that moment, I promised myself that I had to change the way that I was working. I'd been getting all my support online, getting advice from other people, and was finding that the advice that I was working wasn't compatible with what I was experiencing. So I was getting advice, things like I had planned a launch for the business, and the person who was my mentor at that time was like, you have to have a really strong date. You have to have a date when you're going live. And I was like, I don't really want to have a date. I want to have a time. I want to do it in a particular month, but I'm not going to give myself a date because I don't know what my health is going to be like. If the day before I've got a migraine or I'm not feeling well, I'm not going to launch that week. I'm going to have to push it back. And she's like, well, you're never going to be a success if you run your business that way. And I just knew that that wasn't how I was going to be able to run my business. So I set out to look for support, but couldn't find it. So I understood at that point that I needed to run a sustainable business. But in order to do that, I needed to run it in alignment with my health challenges. And so the main points that I found at that point was that I needed to stop fighting my body and start designing my business around that. I realized that the business that I had set up, which was running parties and workshops, wasn't really compatible with my health. And so I had to change the model of it because I didn't want to keep making my health worse and falling into that pattern again. I also realized that I need to start using technology in a way that benefited my business and saved me energy. And then I also wanted to find my people. I wanted to connect with other disabled entrepreneurs. And once I did that by setting up my Facebook group, it changed everything. I found a community that really understood me, understood what my challenges were, and had also were experiencing those themselves. So we could have those conversations to find out what worked and what didn't work. And the result of all that was creating a sustainable business that I could grow and also experiencing fewer bad health days because I wasn't finding myself in that cycle of pushing myself too hard and then struggling with that. So, the first thing that I looked at was how to master time, energy, and well-being. So, how to work with your body and not against it. So, a lot of advice when you're working or running a business is around time management. How can you fit more into your day? How can you get more work done? But for disabled entrepreneurs, the focus should be rather than on time management, it should be on energy management. So, what can you accomplish with the energy that you have? Our energy isn't always predictable. Some days we can have lots of energy and be super productive and we can take on the world. Other days we can barely achieve anything. And we have to be understanding of that and plan our business around it. So we need to build a business and systems that can be flexible and mold to our reality. And we also have to have some sort of acceptance around that as well and not beat ourselves up on days when we have low energy. I always say to my family that if I had days when I have the days when I have high energy, if I could have those days all the time, I could take over the world. But unfortunately, reality isn't like that. So we have dips and flows with our energy levels. So building our business in a way that works with our energy makes it sustainable and it enables it to grow as well. So I think the focus on energy management is so much more important than the focus on time management. And one other thing to really think about is our business model and whether it is a sustainable business model. A lot of business models are very much about trading time for money. And if you have issues with energy, then that often means that you haven't got that much time to devote to your business. And that creates a ceiling on your earning potential and the success of your business. So, trying to find a business model that works in alignment with your health is very important. Many people run one-to-one business models where they're helping one person at a time. And the problem with that is, although it can be great and the person receiving that information can be really benefit from that and have a lot of impact, it means that there are only set number of hours that you can work in a week. And if you want to grow your business, you can't increase the number of hours that you're working. So the only way to bring in more income is to raise the prices, which doesn't necessarily always work. So, looking at other ways of running your business, such as a one to many business model, where you can help many people at one time. So, you might charge them less, but have multiple people being served at one time, can mean that you can grow your business in a way that works for you. So, you can do that through group packages, providing training, and providing, like, you can do wholesale if you're looking at products. Another thing to do is to look at packaging your offer as well. So rather than having a fixed scope and price, you can sell the outcome and not your time. So, for example, if you are a virtual assistant, rather than saying you can pay for X number of hours of work, you can say you can pay for this type of work to be completed. And that means that if you are able to complete that work in less time through having good systems or delegation, that you can actually increase your income and work in a way that works with your health. And I think that's really got to be the focus. Selling that outcome rather than your time is going to be very important for disabled entrepreneurs. Another sustainable business model are things such as subscriptions and memberships, where you don't have to be constantly trying to get new clients. You can build up a client base and then sell to them on a regular basis. And we can see people like Netflix do that. A lot of Amazon Prime do that. It's definitely a model that's taking off in this time. A lot of product businesses are doing that as well. I've seen, obviously, on Amazon, you can buy things and it's reduced price if you buy it on a monthly basis. And there are skincare products that do the same as well. So building up your business model so that people want to buy it regularly can be a really good way of creating that sustainable business model. And then trying to find streams of passive and semi-passive incomes can be useful as well, because that can keep your business running even when you're not able to work in your business. So having things on your website that people can automatically buy without you having to have any sort of input can be very useful. So if you have a business where you can provide some sort of training, even if it's a product business, you can provide training on how to make something themselves, then having that available so that people can buy it themselves in their own time, and then wake up and you can find that someone's bought something overnight, can be a great way of getting that income coming in regularly. And there are so many different ways that you can do that. It's about exploring what you do in your business and how you can offer it in many different ways. And sometimes having a couple of different income streams can be really useful if you are having those days when you aren't able to work in your business because of health flares as well. So, taking time to think about your business model and see whether that is effectively working for you or whether there are tweaks that you can make can be a good use of your time. And there are other practical strategies that you can take as well to protect your energy. And I'm just going to go through a few different options here. There are obviously other ones as well, but here are a few that I just want to focus on today. So the first one is task batching. People either love this or hate it, and it really depends on your personal preference. But I think it's worth talking about because for some people it can really do be very useful for protecting your energy. So task batching is effectively where you group similar tasks together. So you might on one day look at doing brainstorming, thinking of ideas, and coming up with solutions. And on another day, you might have a day where you're doing writing and that all your day is spent writing. Another day might be to do with working one to one with your clients, having phone calls or something like that. It's trying to stop switching from one task to another. And the reason why that is good is it reduces cognitive switching costs. So when we switch from one type of task to another type of task, it takes our brain a lot of energy to do that. And also, if we do batch our tasks, it can create a really lovely level of consistency in our work as well. So this can be really useful for something like creation of social media content, where one day you can plan your content, another day you can write the captions for your content, and then another day you can record your videos or create your visuals for that content. And it's just good because you aren't switching from one thing to another, so it saves a lot of energy. And it also means you've got that lovely consistency. So if you start writing something, you'll keep that flow going for the rest of the session as well. So task batching is one way of saving energy. Another one is energy level workflows. And this is where you understand your energy levels and whether you are having a particularly low energy day or a particularly high energy day, and planning your work accordingly. So this takes up planning up front to understand what sort of tasks work for you when you are on a low energy day, and what sort of tasks are you good at when you've got a high energy day. And then when you wake up in the morning, deciding whether you should follow a workflow for the low energy or the workflow for the high energy. And I don't know about you, but I find that if I'm having a low energy day and I try and do something that takes up a lot of energy, so for example, if I need to prepare a presentation or I need to write a series of newsletters or a blog, that I can literally spend all day sitting there and trying to get it done. And it takes forever. I struggle all day to get it done, and it's not particularly high quality by the end of the day. So I have to come back to it on another day when I've got more energy and look at where I've gone wrong and try and make changes. And yeah, if I had done that on a day when I've got high energy, I can get so much done. I can create really high quality, and it's done in a very short amount of time. So on those low energy days, rather than try and sit down and do that sort of work, I should the good thing for me to do is to realize actually that can wait for another day when I've got high energy. Instead, today I'm going to do other tasks that don't take up so much energy, and which aren't going to drain me. So concentrating on things like my email replies or looking at some social media rather than on that high energy content. And that is good not only for my work because I can get more done in less time, but also for my health as well because I am protecting that energy, taking more time to pause and rest when I've got a low energy day, and yet using that energy when I can, when it's available for me. So understanding energy and building workflows around it can be incredibly useful. Pacing can be great if you do have low energy as well. Understanding what your energy um, levels are, and then pacing accordingly to that. So I really like the spoon theory, where I look at how many spoons I might have in one day in terms of energy levels, and then understanding how much energy different tasks take, whether that's within my home life or whether in my work life as well. And I find that really useful for communicating with my family and friends as well, to talk about how many spoons I have, and might not be able to do something because I don't have enough spoons for that. And it seems to work much better than saying I feel tired today or I don't have much energy today. There seems to be better understanding of that and of how that works. Looking after your well-being is another good strategy for protecting your energy. So listening to your body, if it is telling you something, if you're hearing those whispers, then paying attention, and making relevant changes. So when I was running my skincare business and finding that my shoulders were hurting, if I had paid attention to that and maybe asked somebody to help me or taken a bit of time out to rest or even just done some stretches, put a hot water bottle on my shoulder or something like that, I might have been able to stop it getting to the point that it got to, where I couldn't move it at all. So just being aware of your body, aware of what it's telling you, and making those changes can be useful. Also, thinking about your nervous system and how to engage your nervous system and relax it where possible. So, for example, I know that after doing a presentation like this today, that I'm going to have to really pay attention to my nervous system to calm it down afterwards. Things like deep breathing, getting outside in nature, trying to get rid of some of the adrenaline, which I can do by either laughing or trying to do a bit of movement can be really, really useful for that. So getting an understanding of what is good for your particular nervous system, and then making sure that you plan that into your day, and particularly around any sort of stressful meetings or events, can be a really useful way of protecting your energy. And then finally, I've put down an energy audit as well. And this is where you take some time to monitor your energy levels over the course of a day, a week, a month, even the seasons, because a lot of us experience different energy levels according to the weather. We might have different symptoms. Some people have experienced lots of pain in winter with the cold. Other people struggle in the heat. So understanding your energy generally, so as I say, across the day, week, month, seasons, and then planning your work around that. So planning your focused work and your meetings when you have the most energy, and less important tasks when you've got less energy. And also understanding what tasks energize you and which ones drain you. Having that general understanding of your energy can help you plan your work more effectively. If you experience a lot of pain in winter, then you might want to launch your business or a particular program in your business in warmer months when you have less pain. If you struggle in the heat, then you might want to do it later in the year. So just really understanding your energy and your health and planning your business around that can really help to protect your energy. And then finally, boundaries. Boundaries can be really important in your business, and yet many of us find it hard to put boundaries in place. We want to be there for our clients all the time, and not think about how it affects us. But actually, creating boundaries can be a really good way of communicating our needs, and also making sure that people don't step into how don't affect our energy in a negative way. So you can have boundaries such as client boundaries, where you say that you're not available to respond to emails straight away. You might say that you will respond within 24 to 48 hours. You might say that I only take client calls on certain days at certain times. So you might want to not work evenings, you might not want to work weekends, or you might want to have Fridays off. Having those boundaries in place, knowing when you want to work, how you want to work, and then communicating that can be really useful. With clients, it can also be important to scope a piece of work, and then if they are asking for extra support, extra tasks, you can say, I'm happy to do that, but I'm going to scope and quote you for that as well. It's not going to be part of the work. So understanding what your boundaries are and making sure that you communicate them clearly and confidently can be very helpful. It can also be useful to have personal boundaries as well. So no work after a certain time, taking a day off every week to do an activity that you love, protecting your lunch hours so that you can take that time to rest, starting after a certain time. So some people really struggle in the morning, so maybe not doing any work before 11 a.m. or whatever that might be. So creating personal boundaries. The fact is, you run your own business, so you can choose the way you want to run it. You don't have to run it by society norms. I think a lot of us fall into that routine of having to work 9 till 5, when in fact we don't have to do that. We can work around our energy levels and around our symptoms as well. I think the key is to really communicate those boundaries clearly and confidently. I think it's also useful to reframe boundaries as well. So rather than saying, for example, I can't work lunchtimes, say to yourself or to your customers, I will be much more productive if I have a break at lunchtime and work afterwards, because in that afternoon I'll have much more focused energy. So that can be a really useful way of conducting your boundaries. Thank you, Gemma. So, in this next section, I wanted to look at harnessing technology and innovation to help you run your business in a more sustainable way. So, technology isn't a luxury; it's how we it's how we level the playing field. Before we determine what technology we want to use, we need to assess our tasks, because we don't want to try and try and automate everything. We want to make sure that we are picking what is important to us. A lot of us feel like we should be doing everything in our business. As a business owner, we have so many hats. We are looking after all parts of a business. We're doing the finances, the sales, the delivery, the marketing, literally everything you can do in a business, we have to do it. So it's important to try and understand what is important in our business and not just try and do everything that we're told we should be doing. There is a lot of talk out there about the hustle, about pushing ourselves too hard, and it doesn't always work if we're a disabled business owner. So before we think about that, let's think about what tasks we are currently doing and think about, are there any tasks that we can eliminate that we don't actually need to be doing? Are there things that we're doing because we're told we should be doing them, but they don't actually deliver us any benefits? They're taking up our time, but not delivering results. So it's worth having a think about all of your tasks and seeing if there's anything there that you don't have to do. It's also then worth thinking about, are there tasks that you can ask somebody else to help you with? Either somebody where you can do a swapping of tasks or somebody who you can outsource to. Um, Again, we don't have to do everything ourselves, and sometimes there are tasks that can take us absolutely hours and cause a lot of stress. But if we ask somebody else to do them or we pay somebody else to do it, they can do it in such a short amount of time that the cost benefit to us is really important. So, for example, thinking about something like end of year taxes, it might be something that takes us absolutely hours to do. We've got a lot of stress, we're concerned about doing it wrong, and yet we could pay an accountant a set amount of money and because it only takes them a very small amount of time and they can do it for us, saving us a lot of stress and energy along the way as well. So have a think about if there's anything that you can delegate. And if not, are there tasks that can be automated? Those are tasks that you want to do, that you do regularly, and that will benefit from being done in a way that we don't have to do so much input ourselves. I will go into that in a bit more detail in a minute. But if what's important is to not overwhelm yourself once by trying to do everything at once, we want to pick one pain point, find one solution, and then master it, and then add another layer after that. So don't try and do everything at once. If we do that, it makes it overwhelming. We want to take it one step at a time. So let's look at automation tools. So when we're looking at automation, what we want to do is look for tasks that are repeatable and which will benefit from a uniform approach. So these are things like scheduling appointments, onboarding new clients, creating email templates that we're going to use again and again. And so we want to then determine whether there are tools which can be used to automate those tasks. So, for example, if we want to schedule meetings and create automatic reminders, then we might want to use a scheduling tool such as Calendly. If we have a particular email sequence that we want to send out when we've got a new client or when somebody takes one of our freebies, then we want to use an email provider such as MailerLite or MailChimp and use that to set up at all of our communications. We can also use that to schedule emails so that if we do some task batching where we write multiple emails in one go, we can schedule those to go out in the future and not have to be on hand to send them out one by one. For social media, you can also use a scheduler. There are things like within Meta, you can use Meta Business Suite, but there are also plenty of external social media schedulers such as Hootsuite and various other ones as well that you can use for that. If you want to set up some automations for your invoices and your payments, you can use things like Stripe or PayPal, and that can actually be tied into your automatic booking system. And it can send invoices directly. You can also send invoices directly from your accounting software. So things like Xero or Sage have options of doing that, and you can also set it up where they follow up if you're not paid within a certain amount of time as well. And then there are tools such as for project management, such as Trello, Asana, and Notion that you can use, which will prompt you on what you need to do and when. So having a look at what you want to automate and seeing if there is a tool available can be very useful. There are also some all-in-one tools that can be useful as well. So using something like Go High Level or Kartra can be a really good place to set up everything so it all happens automatically. If when I have a new mentoring client, I don't actually have to be involved in the process at all. I have on my website the ability for people to book a mentoring session. They are then prompted to put in their payment. They are then prompted into my calendar so that they can choose what time they want that appointment. They're then sent out an email with a questionnaire so they can fill out that information, and then sent reminders before the appointment as well. I'm automatically told when the appointment is going to be. The Zoom link is created. So all of that can happen without any of my involvement whatsoever. And the customer experience is a really good journey as well, because it's a nice uniform journey that every single client will experience, and it answers all of their questions. And it makes it so much simpler for everybody involved. There's no going backwards and forwards, trying to find a time, asking for payment. Everything happens very, very smoothly. So setting something up like that can be really useful for your business and for managing your energy levels. But again, you don't want to try and do everything at once. You want to pick one thing at a time, implement it, check that it's working, that you're happy with it, and then move on to the next thing after that. There are also some brilliant accessibility tools out there now as well, which can, particularly as a disabled business owner, can be incredibly useful. So there are things for voice and dictation, such as Naturally Dragon Speaking, Apple Dictation, Google Docs voice typing, that can be really useful if you find it easier to speak rather than to type. There are also some visual accessibility tools, such as screen readers like NVDA and JAWS. And then there's also things like high contrast modes and color filters that you can use as well to really help make it easier and less tiring to be able to read. AI assistants such as Grammarly enables you to improve your text. Otter AI can help you to transcribe meetings automatically. And then there are also note takers for meeting notes as well. So I can see in the participants that some people have added note takers as well. And that can be really useful for summarising what has been discussed. A lot of people find it really difficult to write notes while they are talking or listening. And so having a note taker can be really useful as well. And on some programs, so on like Zoom, for example, or Teams, you can have note readers that summarize it and tell and state who's got the actions, which can then be sent out automatically after a meeting as well. So there's so many new tools that are coming out there that can make accessibility so much easier and useful for us as well. And then there are also physical adaptations that we can think about as well, using ergonomic keyboards, vertical mice, adjustable desks, sort of sitting and standing desks, or lying down desks as well, and chairs, ergonomic chairs that can be really supportive of our health as well. So thinking about, are there any tools out there that would make your life easier and that would actually support you and your disability? Because I think new things are coming up and about all the time. So being aware of those and discussing them with each other to recommend to each other can be really, really useful as well. And now AI can be a real leveler of the playing field for disabled entrepreneurs as well. AI can be your 24/7 team member. And there's so much you can do with AI: content creation, helping you to write emails, blogs, social media content, using things like Claude, ChatGPT can be really useful for that. It can also be really useful for things like research. If you want to source information about what's out there, using something like Perplexity can be incredibly useful for that. It can also be useful for summarization. So if there is a big report that you're really interested in, but it's going to take up too much of your energy to read it, you can input that into AI and ask it to summarize and put the key points out for you. It can be brilliant for idea generation as well. So if, for example, we have, let's go back to what we were talking about earlier with choosing the right business model for us. If you have a particular business model that you're using, but it's not effective for you and your health, then you can think about asking AI for suggestions. Tell them who your audience is, what your skill set is, what you're currently doing, and ask it to generate some ideas of what business model could work for you. Explain what you need it to do for you in terms of how many hours you want to work and what you want to be able to deliver and what sort of impact you want to have. So helping you to generate ideas can be brilliant use of AI. And it can also be useful for admin tasks as well. So sorting through emails, prioritizing them. You can set up various different rules that can help you with admin tasks as well. So something to bear in mind is obviously that you want to double check everything. AI isn't accurate all the time, so you need to make sure that you always checking and double checking everything. And you also want to make sure that it's in your voice, not the AI voice. So trying to train it, but also making sure you're reading through it and changing it to suit you as well. Systems can equal freedom as well. So it's also worth thinking about what systems you have in place in your business as well, and documenting everything. Within a business, there are certain tasks that we do automatically all the time. So I mentioned earlier, doing things like client onboarding. We want all of our clients to have exactly the same experience, which will improve the customer experience in general, but also makes it easier for us. So developing things like standard operating procedures means that everything runs more smoothly. Everything's always carried out in exactly the same order and in exactly the same way. You can create email templates for that as well. And this is a brilliant way of setting up your business, recording what you do and how you do it so that you can do it on repeat. It stops you having to make decisions all the time. It stops you having to think about what to do. It happens all automatically. Creating Loom videos can be brilliant for this. If you can record exactly what you're doing and when and what templates you're using, and then keeping it in a safe place that you can refer to every time you experience that new thing, that can be a great way of setting up the business. It also makes it easier if you want to delegate or ask somebody for help as well, or outsource something. So having those systems set up and documented can be a great way of creating freedom in your business. So task for you to do in the next couple of weeks is to audit your tech stack. Think about what tasks take you more than 20 minutes to do weekly. What tasks are causing you frustration or fatigue? What are you doing manually that could be automated? Are there any tools that you currently pay for but never use? If you can identify anything that you could change within that, then pick one, just one, you don't want to do too much at once, and then choose one or two trial tools to trial to address that task. Then measure its impact and see whether you want to implement, if it's working for you, if you want to change it. And if it is working, then you can move on to the next one. So just want to leave you that task of auditing your tech stack. And I think we're going to take another quick break, if that's all right, Gemma.
Yes, absolutely fine. Thank you, Sarah. So yeah, another little short.
Building your success network. So why do networks matter? As I mentioned at the beginning, many disabled entrepreneurs report feeling isolated. We face unique challenges that non-disabled entrepreneurs don't necessarily understand. And networks can give us that ability to combat isolation. So you're not the only person navigating these challenges, and knowing that there are other people who've been there and are able to understand and support you can really make a huge difference. It can also help you to access resources. There will be people out there who can help, who are one step ahead of you on the journey, who can advise you. There are people also who can offer the support that you need. There are VAs out there who disabled VAs. There are different people like mentors out there who can really help to support you. Accountability is another reason why networks matter. Someone who understands what you are going through and can provide support and provide that accountability can be incredible. And role models as well. Seeing what's possible changes what we believe that we can do. And there are different types of support that we need as well. First one is peer support. People who get it without needing to have explanations, where you can share your strategies, vent frustrations, celebrate wins. Mentors can be incredibly useful as well. They can provide guidance, perspective, and shortcuts. If they've been where you've been and understand your challenges, giving that advice can be really, really useful. Professional support can also be useful as well. Getting that specialised expertise when you need it can be key. So as I mentioned earlier, having someone like an accountant or somebody who can help you on the technology side can be useful, particularly if you've got limited energy and don't have the ability to do everything yourself. Finding a community, whether that's an online group or a local meetup or a mastermind or a membership, having that ongoing connection and belonging can make your business life and your personal life incredible. And practical support as well, such as VAs or friends and family. People who can handle those tasks that drain you can be useful, and that can be in the house as well. So, thinking about things like gardeners or cleaners, anything that can support you in your day to day life in order to help you meet your dreams in your business as well. So, how do we build these meaningful connections? It can be quite hard, particularly if we are working from home, if we are isolated, we have limited energy, if we can't get out as much as we would like. There are lots of online groups on Facebook and LinkedIn. Trying to find what's out there and finding the one that works for you can be really useful. There can be local groups, local business networking groups, or industry specific groups that can be there for you as well. There are also disability focused networking and events, particularly with the LILAC Centre as well. Or if you want to have something like, for example, locally, you could ask on your local Facebook group or amongst some of your friends whether there are other business owners who would like to meet up regularly to have that sense of accountability and that support. Local networking groups can be a brilliant way of just getting known locally, building that friendship and that support that you need. And there's a few things to think about if you are wanting to build those meaningful connections. You want to build relationships rather than searching for customers. So if you do go to a networking event, rather than trying to find new clients, think about how you can build those relationships. And that goes through sort of giving before taking. So maybe share a resource, make an introduction, or even offer genuine praise. And the key is to be authentic and share your real experiences. And it's useful to have regular connection as well because relationships are built over time. We're not going to make those relationships by just meeting once. We want to make those regular connections so that we can get to know people and people can get to know us as well. And then one thing that a lot of people find really hard is asking for help. Um, I think people are so willing to help, but we often find it really difficult. We might find that we feel that we are bothering people when we ask for help, but it's not true. Most people want to help, they just need to know how they can help you. One way to do that is to be specific in your requests. Instead of saying, I need help, you might say, I need help in building an audience. You could ask a specific question, such as, can you recommend a favourite email platform? Do you find that reels or carousels work best for you? So being quite specific in the sort of help you need can be really important. You also want to make it a two-way conversation as well, where you ask for help, but you also offer support in return. And that can be quite useful in terms of things like skill swaps, where you can offer your expertise to somebody else and they can offer your expertise as well, which can be really useful when you're starting out in a business and don't have much money to spend on outsourcing or asking for that more expensive help. So a task that you can do is to think about your network map and ask yourself, what sort of support would make the most difference right now? And then go away and think about, is there one group or one person or one event that you can reach out to or attend that would make a difference to your life right now? And then make that step to do that. So today we've covered three main things. The first one was energy management, which gives you the capacity to implement technology and build relationships. We've also looked at technology, which frees up your energy for strategic work and connection. And then finally, we've looked at your network, which provides resources, accountability, and support for both your energy and your systems. So, one thing to remember is that small, consistent changes in all three areas create exponential results. You don't have to do everything at once. You don't have to take big steps forward. Just those small little changes, those little baby steps can make a big difference over time. And it's about progress and not perfection. Often we strive to get everything right first time, but actually it's those small bits of progress that build up over time to make the real big difference. And just remember that the best model is the one that's sustainable for you. So I've put together a workbook which can help you. Sorry, first of all, actually, sorry, this is a Facebook group. If you are looking for a new network, do come and join us in the Entrepreneurs Against the Odds group. We'd love to welcome you there. It's a very friendly group. I've left the link there, and there's a QR code as well. Otherwise, just look for Entrepreneurs Against the Odds in Facebook, and we'd love to welcome you there. I've also put together a workbook which can help you to get go through some of the things that we've talked about today, such as boundaries and looking for support. So if you do want to have that, then please do feel free to go and download it. Here are my LinkedIn, Instagram, and website. So please feel free to connect with me. I'd love to connect with you all. And feel free to drop me an email if you have any questions. So thank you so much for joining me today. And if anyone has got any questions, then please do let me know.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And there's been some great comments in the chat. So thank you all for being so active in there once we got it going. Really appreciate all the feedback, and I'm sure Sarah will as well. Richard said he needs a bigger brain. I liked what you said there, Sarah, about the model that works is the one that works for you, right? It's not about conforming to what anyone else thinks it should be. It's what is sustainable for you as a person. We've got one question here in the Q&A from an anonymous attendee. So secret question. I still have my corporate day job as well as setting up my company, with one of the aims being that it isn't tied to how many hours I can work. However, in the initial phases of the company setup, it's quite intense and is pre-revenue. Have you got any tips for managing both a demanding day job and a side hustle?
Yes, I think that can be a tricky thing to manage, especially if you do have limited energy. But at the same time, it's also really useful if you haven't got that pressure of having to bring in income for your business. If you've got that corporate job at the same time as building a business, it just takes away the pressure, which can be really useful as well. And I think making the most of that. So thinking about your long-term plan and then taking it baby steps at a time to build it up to the point where you can have revenue and you can eventually leave your day job. So thinking about what steps can you take now? What parts where can you start bringing in some revenue as well? Because I think sometimes we want to try and do everything at once, but maybe it's worth focusing on doing a little bit at a time, maybe focusing on one revenue stream and then moving on another. It's a bit tricky without knowing what the business idea is to be able to give specific advice. But I think just trying to make those little steps. I think when I started my very first business, it felt really overwhelming that there was so much to do. And I remember my dad just saying to me, take one baby step at a time. And I did. And I never thought I'd actually be able to launch it because it was a skincare business. There was so much to do in terms of getting the things tested and approved, finding the right places to source the ingredients from, all the different packaging. There's literally so much to do. I never thought I could do it. But those baby steps, one at a time, when I look back and saw how much I had achieved in quite a short amount of time, it was quite incredible. And I think if you're running your business alongside your day job, again, it's just those little steps every time you can. When you have the energy, just taking one more step forward, and eventually you'll see how far you've come and how much you've achieved.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sarah. Somebody in the chat has asked if you can share the QR code again for the workbook. So if I let you skip back to that slide. Brilliant. Well, that's the end of today's session. Again, thank you so much for spending your time with us today. We very much appreciate it. Sarah, thank you for your time. Chris, thank you very much. Kim from Lloyds, also thank you very much. You might have seen in the chat, Kim mentioned we've got a webinar coming up in the new year all about AI. So look out for details on that. I know it's something that is super popular and an event as well. So lots more information to come. We've shared links in the chat to our LinkedIn working group, networking group, to the hub for disabled entrepreneurs on the Lloyds website, which is full of really great resources and information. We will be sending out a newsletter this week with links to the recording so you can watch this back at your own leisure. Take your time with it, focus on the bits that you want to go over again. And yeah, really just thank you again for everyone being here this morning. I hope it's been useful. Thank you, Sarah, and we'll look forward to seeing you all really soon. Thank you so much.